when we get compliments, my mother's like, well, what'd you do different?
Yeah.
I was like, well, nothing. I just, made it the same way. Same way you showed me. And just, she said, well, send me a bowl to the house and I want to try it. It's like, well, you have to wait because we just ran out.
What's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm the host of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, the show that is dedicated on bringing on passionate people, learning about their stories, and delivering value to entrepreneurs. So if that's what you're interested in, go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know just a little bit more about people, passions, and all things business. Today, sitting across the way, I have Rolly from Rolly's Taqueria in Metter, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show.
Pretty good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah? So just to give everybody a little bit backstory, I'm not often in Metter much, but I work at the Business Innovation Center in Statesboro, Georgia. And right across the way, there was a food truck set up a couple weekends ago. And I went up to the food truck, had some of the food, blew me away. I thought the food was amazing. And I had to talk to the people that were behind it. And that's when we striked up a conversation, talked a little bit about kind of, the things that you were going through with the food truck, starting the food truck. And I thought that would be a perfect, a perfect place to be able to talk about entrepreneurship and that sort of thing. So super excited about that. Tell me a little bit about how you initially got into the restaurant industry.
Well, it's pretty much been born into it.
Okay.
I was almost born in a restaurant. When my mother first had it, they had a tortilla maker. It was called a tortillera. It used to be called La Cabaña.
Okay.
In Claxton.
Okay.
So they would get up 2, 3 in the morning every day, cook the corn, everything from the corn all the way down to the tortilla.
Wow.
And that's kind of how everything kind of started. They had a restaurant right beside it. So it was freshly made tortillas straight to the restaurant.
Okay.
And they distributed also to the local restaurants and farmers market in Atlanta.
You mentioned something about that caught my attention. You said that your mom almost had you in the restaurant. What does that mean?
So it's pretty much while she was pregnant, they were working it.
Yeah. So just very always part of kind of the business.
Always in the business.
Had that been in the family for a period of time or?
My uncle had started it. It was pretty much a family-ran business. Uncles, sisters, cousins. Anybody pretty much that came by.
Mm-hmm.
As far as family, working together, getting the product out.
That's awesome. Yeah. And how many tortillas are we talking about that were being produced at that?
I was pretty young at that point, but I just remember cases. By the pallets.
Uh-huh.
They would put me to build boxes.
They would put you. How old were you at that time?
Probably around 6, 7.
Wow.
Real young.
That's fascinating to me because I personally also started working around that age.
Yeah.
Not anything super kind of
it
strenuous.
wasn't every day.
Yeah,
it was just hey, you're here, help us out, throw some things away or this or that, move things around.
Uh-huh.
Probably a little bit older, 8 or 9, started moving, a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Or just my uncle he has a store right down the road. He's like, hey, go get some limes, or hey, they'd have me a little bike out there. It's like, hey, go get some limes, cilantros and onions, and just ride it back and forth all day.
I like it. So this restaurant that you're currently at is that same restaurant, or that's a different restaurant?
I'm in Metter.
Okay.
The one in Metter's been in the family for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest uncle had it for 10 years. He sold it to his youngest sisters. My Aunt Sandra, she's also my godmother. She had it for 10 years. She started in 2012 when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
So I kind of helped her start it, after school on the weekends. And then this past August, in 2022, she sold it to me.
Wow. What made you want to get into the restaurant business?
I've always wanted to have especially a restaurant, since I pretty much grew up into it. And I know, how to run left and right. So I figured I could kind of do it on my own. Mm-hmm. And, the opportunity came up with her, and I decided to buy her out.
What is the connection here, right? So, you have a tortilla shop that, from what I hear is very successful. It's basically shipping, pallets of tortillas across the U.S.
It had shut down already since I think the early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken.
Got you.
There were some issues in the family, and eventually got shut down. And kind of once that person knows that recipe, even though you write it down, you communicate it back and forth, it's still not the same as, as you can write it down by the book. That person follows it, and it's still not. I guess it's that hand that gives it the flavor.
That's so interesting to me because, in restaurants, it's so hard to provide consistency across the board. And so do you believe in, having someone that is different people will follow the same recipe and produce a different result?
Yes, definitely. The way my mother helps me in the restaurant on the weekends sometimes here and there. And, we don't really have anything on paper. We just kind of go by, sometimes she doesn't even taste it. She'll be, hey, taste how this is. Oh, it needs a little bit of salt or this or that. But there's nothing on paper. That just kind of tells us like, hey, this is how we do it, or we just kind of go. So
tell me this, is the food better when mom's around?
Yeah. It's got its ups and downs. Sometimes they'll compliment. It's like, hey, the food is really good today. It's like, oh, I cooked it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. We'll do a lot of on the weekends. We do menudo, which the beef track.
Yep.
And when we get compliments, my mother's like, well, what'd you do different?
Yeah.
I was like, well, nothing. I just made it the same way. Same way you showed me, and she said, well, send me a bowl to the house, and I want to try it. It's like, well, you have to wait because we just ran out. So I'm cooking some more. And, it's the same recipe. I guess it's the...
If you were to try to quantify that, because I think that's an interesting thing, right? Because I've experienced it at the restaurants as well, because, we try to be as consistent as we can. So systems-wise, like, hey, there's a recipe that you need to follow. This is what you need to do. But, why do you think that when two people approach the same recipe that you get a different result?
I guess because they're trying to imitate it instead of trying to do their own flavor to it. They'll try to imitate it exactly, and if they'll taste it, it's like, oh, it needs a little bit more of this or a little bit more, salt or pepper, and it kind of changes. That's where it changes the texture, the flavor.
Because they're using their taste buds to kind of work through it. Makes sense. So let's kind of move maybe forward or backwards, depending on how you look at it. So you started, again, at a very early age, working kind of for the family. Were you getting paid at that time? Was it some money?
It's like pocket change.
Yeah.
And they if I wanted a bike or this and that, they just, I had good birthday parties.
Yeah.
So I was the youngest out of the oldest cousins. So I was, pretty much getting what I wanted, left and right, or
nice.
2 vacations a year. When whoever went to Mexico, I kind of tagged along with them and came back. I didn't have, I wouldn't say a traditional childhood. We Saturday mornings you're at the house watching cartoons, eating cereals.
Sure.
It was more like, hey, 3, 4 in the morning, go find your bike in the yard. We're headed to the restaurant.
Sure.
So it was been a pretty.
So did you do prep work at the restaurant too?
Nothing too, just kind of peel onions, chop cilantro, chop lemons and stuff. That was more in my teens, my early teens.
That you actually started doing stuff.
Some more hands-on, other than just running errands like, hey, go get this or go get that. We were not even a quarter of a mile down the road where my mom had the restaurant and my uncle has a store and a meat market. It's called La Consentida. And, it was... to me, it was fun. I'd hop on the bike and just go as fast as I could on the sidewalk and try to get there as soon as I can, get what I needed, and run right back.
Yeah. That's cool. Why, we're in South Georgia. How did your family end up in South Georgia?
My grandmother, Enedina Garcia, she loved it down here. She was, they come from migrants. They lived in South Texas. They would go to Michigan to work in the I think it's the apples, cherries. They would go from different states following the seasons. The onions, cabbage, watermelons. They would go to Michigan. I think it was.
And what does that mean? Follow the states? Does that mean they're kind of
like migrant workers?
Okay, got you.
So when like Vidalia, Sweet Onion, when they come down, you get a bunch of migrant workers coming down here. And that's kind of how they were. They got to Georgia, and they pretty much liked it down here. My grandmother liked it. I got 4 uncles and four aunts, and they pretty much all liked it here. They lived in, I'd say maybe 1,000 square foot homes, 2 bedrooms. It was 8 people, 9 people with my grandmother included.
That's crazy.
And
what do you think that has that had any impact on kind of like, the family? Because obviously there's this struggle feature, item, right? Like there's this thing of like, being able to push through. Because my family is also, they immigrated here.
Yeah.
And so, I'm curious about your family's kind of like experience with that struggle, especially at the beginning.
I think with us, it helped us as far as unity. We're all pretty close. I could call any one of my uncles right now. My aunts, they helped me out in the restaurant. My uncles helped me out. It was like, hey, you need to do this, or, kind of more like
mentor?
Yeah, kind of like mentors.
Okay.
They helped me out, since they've had the business before. One of my uncles still has a business he's married to my aunt. He's the one that has a store in Claxton.
Mm-hmm.
He mentors me, a lot. Where I'll call him, it's like, hey, I'm having troubles with this or that, and he'll help me out, in the long run.
That's awesome. And does that kind of translate down to your next generation? Is that kind of like, are you seeing that happen as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
With my cousin stuff, family's pretty much been the biggest support I've had with the business. I have cousins that paint, that do electrical work, AC work, and they've all, hey, I'm having some troubles with my AC. You mind come checking it out? Yeah, that's fine.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's within the family.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome. So that there's definitely kind of like that advantage. Let's talk a little bit about the Taqueria. What is the food that you serve?
It's pretty much like street food inside of a business. We have tacos, quesadillas, tortas, gorditas. On the weekends, we do tamales, caldo de res, and menudo.
Uh-huh.
And we try to keep it as authentic as possible. We do put in some fajitas in there every now and then, kind of mix it.
Okay, fajitas is not.
So where we're from, we're from Tamaulipas, from Rio Bravo. You don't really, you'll see them, but more toward the tourist area.
Okay.
If you're out to where we live, it's more like tacos, tortas. The tortas over there, they're lonches. It's a little small bread cut in half. Put in some, pretty much like deep fried. Take it out, put the meat in it.
Gotcha.
But the quesadillas, which here now we kind of like updated them. Now we add meats to them. But where we're from, pretty much is just cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese and then the
tortilla.
And tortilla. Yeah. Got you. So fajitas is a very American feature.
Yeah. To us, it's more of a.
Is there anybody that does eat fajitas?
Yeah. It's a pretty popular seller on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
We either do them in tacos or in the plates.
Gotcha.
Some people prefer them in tacos. Some people prefer them as a plate and make their own tacos.
Gotcha. What do you think is the future of kind of your cuisine? Hispanic food, Mexican food has had this explosion, right, in the U.S.
It's definitely pretty popular overall.
Yeah.
Right now, our most popular would be the quesadillas, since we make the flour tortillas every morning.
You make them by hand?
Yeah.
Wow. What does that involve? Tell me about that process.
We pretty much buy the flour, add a little bit of oil, some hot water and stuff, and pretty much, mix everything by hand, kind of like a bread. Set them out in the morning and then roll them and, heat them up, have them ready for the day.
How much more, so let's compare and contrast like time. So how much time does it take to finish like the tortilla process for you guys?
Ideally, it's probably close to 2 to 3 hours, depending if we're kind of busy. Sometimes we'll have customers. It's like, hey, we're making fresh tortillas. Okay, well, if I order 3, give me 6.
Yeah.
Since you're just making them, it's just a different
vibe.
It's a different taste to it, and it gives it that more authentic.
Let's describe that. So when you say like a different taste, a store-bought tortilla versus like a plain, like a handmade one.
Yeah.
What is the difference that you'll be able to tell in the taste?
To us, we can find the taste pretty quick. It's either more like the store-bought tortillas. It's more kind of like elastic. They stretch a little bit more compared to the ones we make, at the restaurant. It's a little, I guess, since we know the texture, it's like, if it's a store-bought tortilla, it's like,
you can tell.
Yeah, it's like, we'll get the flour. Yeah. We'll make some right now. It's like, don't worry about those. You kind of put those to the side for an emergency or something.
That's funny. Flour tortillas are an American thing. Are there flour tortillas in Mexico?
Yes.
There are.
Yeah.
But it's much more popular in the U.S.
Yeah, definitely.
I typically ask for corn. Is that the traditional way that tacos are consumed?
Yeah.
Or either way works?
Traditionally, it's more of a corn tortilla. It is starting to get more popular in the flour. Depending on on the customer.
Yeah.
You know, once they taste the flour, it's like, well, look, it's homemade.
Yeah.
So it gives it a different taste to it.
So the ones that you make are flour tortillas, not corn tortillas.
No, we just make the flour.
Got you. Do you do most restaurants out there, or the ones that make their own, do they usually specialize in a specific one?
Yeah, I think a lot of more popular in the restaurants is corn as far as making them. We do the tortilla that we get it from is from here from Statesboro.
Okay.
It's from Rinconcito.
Okay. So I'm familiar with them. What do you get from them?
The tortillas. They have a tortilla maker.
Yes, that's right.
So we get it from them as far as the corn tortillas, and we just make our flour.
Does it take, how much time is there a difference between the time that it takes to make a corn versus a flour?
I think it's a little bit more complicated to make the corn.
Really?
Yeah. From what I've seen, because we'll try different corn tortillas also, depending on the urgency of it and how fast we need them. A lot of corn tortillas will rip. Once you kind of package them to go, they'll kind of get hard, or they'll end up ripping.
Yeah.
Kind of when you package them in aluminum or in the to-go box.
Yeah.
I guess with the moisture or the heat or something, they'll cause them to rip. And we've just been kind of trying different tortillas to find the perfect one.
Yeah. As a restaurateur, how do you approach your business, right? And so that's a very maybe general question.
Yeah.
But thinking more alongside of with the experiences that you have, working as a 5 to 9 year old, what along the way has made you the entrepreneur that you are today?
I would say my family, definitely. They would they give me a lot of backup as far as any questions that I have. It's like, hey, I'm having troubles with taxes.
Yeah.
So, what do I do with this, or how, hey, go to this accountant, they'll help you out, or they'll show me how to do my own taxes pretty much online. But I think family's been a big help overall, especially since they've had the business or they still own a business, and they'll kind of guide me in a strong way.
Yeah. From the family standpoint, I think that businesses sometimes are difficult for families to work through. I've seen, some businesses tear families apart. What do you think makes yours or makes what you guys are doing work?
We're pretty much 100% family ran. My wife's helped me, my sister, my brother helps me when he's off of work. My mother goes a few hours and helps us out, just prep some things together.
Yeah, you guys don't get tired of seeing each other?
We fight a little bit at the restaurant.
Do you?
Yeah. Then once we get home, we just kind of forget about it, put a coffee on, and just kind of, coffee and some bread.
Yeah.
And we just kind of, it was like, oh, this happened today. And it's like, oh, yeah, I remember. And, we just kind of get over it.
You guys communicate?
Yeah. We're pretty close overall. And we pretty much stay pretty good communicating. We all work together pretty well. We do have 2 other employees, and they kind of see how that family environment kind of helps us get along.
I'm sure it spills over to them too. I mean, do you feel like they're kind of like at times part of the family? Yeah,
they help us out. Sometimes we'll cook out at the house. But hey, we're having a cookout after we're close here. If you want to stop by the house, we'll stop by and get them a plate, take something to go. Depending on how the day's been at the restaurant, sometimes it's kind of hectic.
I know.
Like, oh no, I'm ready to go home. Go to sleep.
And talk to me now about kind of like food truck, right? So like food truck is that the latest venture that you've kind of like put together?
Yeah, I recently got it in the first week of March. It's been I wanted to go ahead and get it. The restaurant's pretty new to it, since August. So I've decided, I need to go ahead and get my food truck and be able to venture out. And
you've only had the restaurant for a year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Going on for a year. And I would decide to go ahead and get the food trailer. It helped me put my name out there a lot more.
Sure.
and especially where I'm at in Metter, it's pretty competitive. There's 5 other Mexican restaurants.
Wow.
So with the food trailer, it helps me kind of venture out more outside of Candler County.
Yeah. 5. That's a ton.
Yeah, for a small town.
Yeah, I know. Like, is there enough to support that, or is it just everybody's just competing?
Thankfully, it seems like we're all doing pretty good. It's all going pretty. You know, we pretty much all know each other. And you know, sometimes they'll come and eat with us, or we'll go out there to eat with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're pretty good community overall.
So, you know, this idea of the food truck, when did that kind of like come to you?
It's been we've had 2 other food trucks in the family. One in Claxton. It's called the Taco Truck, and I helped my cousin. Worked in Texas for about a year or 2 in the oil field, and when the oil field kind of dropped down, I came back to Georgia and I helped him out on the food truck.
Yeah.
And we stayed pretty busy. You know, he only opened Friday, Saturday, Sundays, but we stayed pretty busy. And I was like, man, I would like to buy me a food truck.
Yeah.
Or a trailer, because, you know, if something happens with the food truck, can't drive it.
That's right.
So I decided to get me a trailer once I had the opportunity.
That makes sense. So you said something about oil fields. What did you do in the oil fields?
I was just a laborer. I went out there right out of high school. I was 19. I was a year here and kind of working part-time jobs here and there. Got a phone call like, hey, if you want to work, be here by Monday morning. Call me Friday afternoon. I had one of my cousins call me. I left here Saturday morning and got to Kennedy, Texas Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
Just kind of waited it out till Monday morning, put in my application, and started working pretty much.
What led you to do that? Did you have any sense of fear, or did you have any like concern about, like, do you remember?
More of a change of atmosphere. Just kind of, when I was working here, it was just kind of like day by day, you know, weekend by weekend. And once I got the phone call, I figured, you know,
give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. There's nothing to lose.
What was it like out there?
It was pretty rough. It definitely created it was a strong workforce, definitely. You know, I was 19 years old working with guys that were 40, 50 years old, and they were, you know, pretty much working circles around me, and I'm over here, you know, Googling, you know, what's a pipe wrench, and running to the toolbox, you know, trying to Google what these tools were and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was pretty, it's a big learning curve.
Well, did you experience anything that sticks out in your mind as a good learning opportunity?
Pretty much just work hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. 24/7. You know, there was a lot of work out there. The first month I went out there, we worked 28 days straight.
Wow.
So it was definitely pretty rough.
You know, what's interesting about that is, you know, I come across a lot of people that don't really understand that the human body can actually take a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, now that you've gone through these 28 days straight, you know, it doesn't seem as intense as, you know, what some people might be used to, right? Like a lot of people are used to, like, you know, work 4 days, off for like 3 days or whatever it is. But, like, you know, and then they hear about somebody that's, you know, going for, you know, a month straight.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to push ourselves to really go out there and challenge and face that challenge.
Yeah.
Because what that just means is, like, in the future, it won't be as intense or challenging when you face those things moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It kind of creates the backbone pretty much.
Exactly.
You know, once I came back to Georgia, I got a job at a pipe plant here in Statesboro called WO Plastics.
Okay.
And I worked there for 6 years. Went from a labor, pretty much like a laborer to a supervisor within like 2 months.
And why was that?
It was a new plant. They had just opened in 2017, and that's around the time that I started working there. And there was a lot of new employees, and, you know, it's kind of work harder, pretty much outwork anybody in the room that's there with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll, you know, land you in a good spot. That happened to work for me.
Yeah.
Especially since they knew I had a little bit of oil field experience.
Sure.
The plant manager and the production manager, they were from Texas.
Oh,
so
okay. They get it.
Yeah, they're from North Texas. Oh yeah, this guy knows how to work. And I said, man, I'm kind of tired of hard work, but I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And 6 years, it worked out pretty well. Stayed pretty busy. Met a lot of people. The workforce was kind of hit and miss. We had a lot of high turnover rate.
Sure.
But I still got to meet a lot of good people.
So how did you end up leaving that space? And what convinced you to leave it? Does that catch us up to when you
I feel like everything kind of helped builds character.
Mm-hmm.
Once I opened the restaurant in August, I still worked at the plant full time, 8 to 5. Once I got out of the plant, I would go to the restaurant.
Love it.
Or I would get up, at 6 in the morning, go to the restaurant, help out, prep, mop, clean the table.
How many hour days was that?
Just about all of them. That was about 15 or so.
Every single day.
Every day. And on the weekends, I ran the restaurant.
That restaurant's the busiest.
From 10 to 8 every day. Be there about 6:30, 7.
No days off.
No days off.
Wow.
I went, I think, like 7 months.
Yeah.
No days off.
Yeah.
And I just when I purchased a food trailer, I decided it was time to go 100% at the restaurant. And the plant manager understood pretty well. It's like, hey, and they hired me pretty quick to come back out there with the food trailer. It's like, hey, we're gonna feed the whole plant. We want you to come feed them.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Let us know.
So they, it's with big support from the plant.
Did you learn anything along the way at the plant that really kind of like that you've been able to apply at the restaurant?
As far as communication and cleanliness, that helps out a lot. Following procedures, pretty much create like procedures for the restaurant. It's like, hey, this is how we're gonna do things. Stay consistent, and it helps overall, maintain a good like a good reputation. We would have audits once a year for the plant, and we would try to just clean as much as we could. Organization is a big thing for manufacturing, for lean manufacturing, and I kind of push those principles down to the restaurant. Maintain clean, that way by the end of the night you pretty much just kind of detailing a few things and you're ready to go home.
That's awesome. What's coming up next for Rollies?
Hopefully running the food trailer a lot more.
Yeah.
Once we're able to find some pretty good employees, we'll try to venture out maybe to another place. Trying to open up another location.
I like it.
But pretty much run the food trailer as much as we can.
Yeah. How do people get in touch with you if they wanted to?
Which I still have a Texas number. It's a 956-703-4091.
Okay.
Or you can contact me at the restaurant at 912-685-7984.
You have a website?
No, sir, I don't. Right
okay,
now.
That's okay. What about
Facebook?
Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram.
How do they find you on there?
Taqueria.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Well, I have to thank you for coming on to the show. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing about kind of like your story and the things that you've done. Fascinating that, I think that it's such an important thing for people to realize that experience really leads to your future, right?
Definitely.
And so as you go through things, don't be scared of the tough things that you face, because ultimately that is going to make you stronger, better, and hopefully,
successful. Yeah, you'll see the tough things now and you'll think of a year later, it's like, man, it wasn't really that tough.
That's right.
I was just kind of overstressing about it.
That's right.
But it's all this experience I've had has definitely helped me run the restaurant in the right direction. Hopefully it'll keep running for another 20, 30 years.
Awesome.
Yes,
Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to stopping by the restaurant at some point. And thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir.
Cool,
Thank
man.
you.